Good morning everyone. Now in this class what I have decided that we will be looking into some of the specific and complete problems of transient transport processes by using separation of variables, how the solution is obtained, because in the previous class I know last time I have received some of the requests to solve a complete problem, okay, explaining all the how the problem is subdivided into sub problems depending on the sources of non-homogeneity and how to go about them. Okay. So, the first example we will be considering is a fluid mechanics problem. Transient quiet problem. The system is something like this. You have a thin channel, it is a rectangular cross section or it may be a pipe as well. For this particular problem, it is a rectangular channel of let us say height h, and there is a fluid stationary at time t equal to 0. At time t equal to 0 plus delta, the lower surface starts moving in the forward direction, in the positive x direction with a uniform velocity u naught. Okay. So, this is y and this is x axis. The lower surface starts moving with a constant velocity u naught, and that will induce a velocity field within the fluid, and since there is no pressure gradient, the velocity will be in the x direction only. That means, u component velocity will exist only, there will be no y component velocity will be existing for this system. Now, the z dimension, let us say it is coming out from the plane of the paper and it is too long, it is very large compared to the x dimension length and the height. So, all the variations of any dependent variable in the z direction will be negligibly small. Okay. And at time t equal to 0 plus delta, the lower plate starts moving with a constant velocity u naught, and ultimately, so there will be a transience present, and after that transience the velocity will be fully developed. That means, it will be the steady state velocity will be attained. You must have solved this problem by using Navier-Stokes equation, and you must have got the steady state velocity profile. Now, the steady state will not be attained instantaneously, there will be a time lag before reaching the attainment of the steady state. So, we would like to capture what is the u component velocity as a function of y and t. So, our aim is in this problem is to find out what is the profile of u as a function of y and t. So, we will start with and the fluid is incompressible. Okay. So, we start our first equation, that whatever we have discussed previously, the first equation that you have to write is the equation of continuity. Okay. You write down the equation of continuity. Okay. So, this will be del rho del t plus del rho V x, let us say u del x plus del y of rho v, that is let us say that is v component, the y component velocity, plus del z of let us say rho w is the z component velocity is equal to 0. Now, although it is a transient problem, so t dependence must be there, but since it is incompressible fluid, the density is constant, that is why this term will be off. Okay. So, you can the assumptions in this problem you can list down, and based on that those assumptions you can simplify the equation. Constant density problem number 2, your v component is equal to 0, because the motion is induced because of the velocity of the wall in the x direction. Okay. And third one is the z dimension is too long. That means, all the variations of velocity and the gradients etcetera in the z direction will be equal to 0. That is v z equal to 0 and del z of anything will be equal to 0. Okay. Now, based on this you can simplify this equation of continuity, and since rho is constant it will be taken out of the derivative. So, it will be del u del x plus del v del y plus del w del z. Now, in this equation, in this we have written as w as the z component velocity. So, v z will be equal to w. Okay. So, v z and w are identical, it is a notation only. Since v is equal to 0, this term will be off. Since w del z is z dimension is too long, because of that assumption this term will be off. So, you will be having del u del x will be equal to 0, that you are getting from the equation of continuity. That means, u will be a function of y and t only. You cannot be function of x because of this, you cannot be function of z because all the variation is z dimension is gone. So, the independent variables left are y and t. So, you will be in general function of y and t. That is the information you are getting from equation of continuity. Then you can write down the y component velocity. Okay, there is a Navier-Stokes equation, rho times, you write down starting with x, y and z. Let us say first we write down the x component velocity field. So, it will be rho del u del t plus this is the local derivative term plus the convective terms, that is u del u del x plus v del u del y plus w del u del z, okay, minus del p del x is the pressure gradient term plus mu. Let us say it is the liquid is having constant viscosity. So, this will be del square p del square u del x square plus del square u del y square plus del square u del z square plus the body force term, the component of the the gravity in the x direction, that will be 0, right. Del u del t, since it is a transient problem, so this term will be remaining as it is. Del u del x, because of the equation of continuity this term will be off. From the equation of continuity you are getting del u del x equal to 0, v itself will be equal to 0, because of that assumption this term will be 0, and w is not present and del z of anything will be 0. So, each of these terms will be equal to 0. Okay. Now, the flow is induced because of the movement of the lower plate. There is no external pressure that is acting in the x direction. Suppose there is a fluid flowing through a channel or a tube from station 1 to station 2, this can be materialized by two ways. Either you apply a pressure gradient, that means P 1 is larger than P 2, the fluid will be driven towards the forward direction from 1 to 2, or you induce a velocity field by subjecting, by forcing the motion of one of the walls. Okay. Suppose this wall will move, so it will induce a velocity field in the fluid, or it may be a presence of both. Now, in this case the fluid is flowing because of the motion of the wall, that is why, and there is no pressure gradient being forced upon it to it. So, there is no pressure present in del p, there is no pressure gradient present, right. So, this term will be off for this particular problem, because the flow is induced because of the motion of the wall only. Del u del x equal to 0, one more derivative with respect to x will give you del square u del x square equal to 0. So, this term will be off as well. Del square u del y square will be present, because from the equation of continuity we have come to a conclusion that u is a function of y as well as t. So, this term will be present, and del z of anything will be gone. So, this term will be off. So, in essence the simplified equation of motion in the x direction will give you rho del u del t is nothing but mu del square u del y square. Okay. And what is mu by rho? It is defined as nu and is known as the kinematic viscosity. With a unit meter square per second. Okay. So, del u del t, since mu and rho are constant, this nu itself is a constant, nu del square u del y square. So, this is the governing equation of u, which will be in essence a function of y and t together. Okay. Fine. Now, you write down the y component velocity. Y component velocity will give you rho del v del t plus u del v del x plus v del v del y plus w del v del z minus del p del y plus mu del square v del x square plus del square v del y square plus del square v del z square plus rho g y, that is the y component of the gravity force, y component of the gravity force. Now, since v is equal to 0 for this particular problem, it is an assumption. So, all these terms will be off, the local derivative and the convective parts all will be off. So, whole left hand side of the Navier-Stokes equation will be gone. Now, similarly, all these terms will also be off and g y will be is equal to minus g, right. So, you will be having del p minus del p del y minus rho g is equal to 0. That will give you a pressure gradient, that is basically the hydrostatic pressure, P is equal to P naught plus rho g h. Okay. So, this will give you information about the hydrostatic pressure distribution. G y, y is on the actual, if you look into the coordinate we have adopted, g y is equal to in the upward direction. So, g will be the minus g only, is not it? That is well known, right. Suppose you talk about any two points in the vertical direction, these 1 and these 2, P 2 will be P 1 plus rho g y, if y is that height that we are considering. It does not give any information about the velocity field. Okay, this is fine. Now, if you write down the z component velocity, since V z is 0 and variation of any quantity with respect to z direction is negligible, this will be also equal to 0. So, if you write down and simplify equation of equation of motion in the z direction, you will be getting an identity 0 is equal to 0. So, no new information will be obtained from writing the z component equation of motion. Now, so that is why our governing equation of u will be del u del t and nu del square u del y square. Now, you require one condition on time, require two conditions on y to solve this problem completely, right. Now, at time t equal to 0, the velocity was equal to 0, right. It starts moving after t plus delta, let us say. Now, for any time t at y equal to 0, your u was equal to u 0 and at y equal to h, h is the full height of the channel, that is u equal to 0, right. These two comes from the no slip boundary condition. The fluid particle will be assuming the velocity of the lower plate, the fluid particle will be assuming the velocity of the upper plate, that is a stationary plate. So, its velocity is equal to 0. Now, we for our convenience we make this problem all the dependent variable and independent variable, we make them dimensionless. Okay. So, we define u star as u by u naught. Either you do that or you may not be doing it. For a numerical problem, if you would like to have a numerical solution, this dimensionalization is essential, because that will make you the problem well posed. Like if you define u star as u by u naught, variation between will be equal to from 0 to 1. If you make y star as y by h, the variation of y will be from 0 to 1. So, the problem will be well posed. Y star is y by h, okay. And t star we do not know what it is. It will be we will be just looking into a moment. Now, just you know the y will be because the dimension in the y direction is known h, and velocity this u 0 is known to you. So, it is safe to make u star and y star non-dimensional with respect to the known quantities. Now, let us see what will be the non-dimensional t. Just substitute all this in your governing equation. What you will be getting? U 0 del u star del t is nu del square u star u 0 over h square del y star square, right. So, u 0 will be off. So, you will be getting h square by nu del u star del t is del square u star del y star square. Now, the whole right hand side is non-dimensional. Okay. On the left hand side, you are having a non-dimensional quantity here. That means, and this is dimensional. That means, h, nu, and t. This must be non-dimensional. Okay. The right hand side is non-dimensional. That means, left hand side has to be non-dimensional. That means, t nu by h square, this square, t nu by h square must be having a dimension of time, inverse of time. That means, t nu by h square must be is equal to t star. This t star must be non-dimensional. Just check, nu is meter square per second, h square is meter square, t is second. So, my non-dimensional time is t nu by h square. Okay. This is a non-dimensional time. In some cases, it may happen you may not be having all the known quantity. Non-dimensionalization is generally done against the known variable, like h is known to you, it will be a measurable quantity, it will be given to you. So, y star will be made non-dimensional against h, u 0 is known to you. So, u will be made non-dimensional against u naught, but you do not know in what way t will be made non-dimensional. You just whatever the quantities you known to you, just substitute into the governing equation, and you will be getting back your non-dimensional time or whatever the independent variable in the non-dimensional form. So, we can define our non-dimensional time t star as t nu by h square, u star as u by u naught, and y star as y by h. Okay. So, your governing equation now becomes del u star del t star is del square u star del y star square. Okay. Let us make our initial and boundary conditions non-dimensional. At time t equal to 0, that means, at time t star is equal to 0, my u was equal to 0. So, u star is equal to 0, right. For any time t at y equal to 0 means at y star equal to 0, u is equal to u naught. So, u star equal to 1, right. At y equal to h, that means, at y star equal to 1, your u star equal to 0. Right. Now, we will solve this problem, since it is a linear problem and linear boundary conditions and initial condition, you have to you can use separation of variable safely. Now, you will be having one non-homogeneity in u star and the initial condition is 0. So, you cannot use separation of variable as it is. Since initial condition is 0, you have to divide this problem into two sub problems. One is time independent, that is the steady state solution, which will be a function of y only. Another will be time dependent as well as space dependent. That means, because of this, since you are having a 0 initial condition, you divide this problem into two sub problems. One will be time independent, that is a steady state solution, which will be function of y only, plus let us say u star t, that will be function of y star as well as t star. Okay. Now, we will be constructing the governing equation of u star and u t star and the corresponding initial and boundary conditions for u star and u t star. Now, let us look into the u star. Okay. You substitute this equation in your governing equation and collect the terms and see what you get. Okay. Del u in your original problem, it was del u star del t star. So, there is a, you just change, you just put a subscript here as s, let us say it is steady state, otherwise this u star will become. Okay. Del u star del t star, okay, del u star del t star is del square u star del y star square. So, substitute there. So, it will be u s star is a function of y star alone. So, it will not be present. Del u t star del t star is u s star is a function of y star alone. So, it will be a total derivative d square u s star d y star square plus del square u t star del y star square. Okay. Collect the terms and formulate the governing equation of u s star and u t star. D square u s star d y star square is 0, del u t star del t star is equal to del square u t star del y star square. Okay. Now, the non-homogeneous boundary condition is present at y star is equal to 0, at y star equal to 0, u star is equal to 1. At y star equal to 0, your u star is equal to 1, that means u s star plus u t star is equal to 1, right. At y star equal to 0, your u star was equal to 1. So, what is u star? U star was nothing but u s star plus u t star. Now, I select the non-homogeneity to go along with the steady state part. So, I select u s star to be equal to 1, that means at y star equal to 0, u t star is equal to 0. Okay. Now, come to the other boundary condition. At y star is equal to 1, your u star was equal to 0. That was safe, that is that was u s star plus u t star was equal to 0. That means, both of them will be individually equal to 0. Okay? Fine. Now, what is left is the initial condition. The initial condition was at t star equal to 0, your u star was equal to 0. What is the u star? U star was u s star, which is a function of y, plus u t star, which is a function of y and t or both. So, u t star at time t equal to 0 is nothing but minus u s star, which will be function of y alone. So, in this way you select your initial condition you formulate your boundary condition. This is the boundary condition for this part, this is the boundary condition for this part. So, now you see for this problem, there is absolutely no problem, you can solve analytically, and here you will be having a non-zero initial condition and homogeneous boundary condition. So, this is a problem suitable, a suitable candidate for applying separation of variable. Okay. Now, let us solve the first part. U s star, the governing equation is d square u s star dy star square is equal to 0. The solution is u s star is c1 y plus c2. Now, at y star equal to 0, you had u s star is equal to 1, use that. So, 1 is c2. So, your u s star is nothing but 1 plus c1 y. The other boundary condition is at y star equal to 1, u s star was equal to 0. Okay. So, 0 is 1 plus c1, that means c1 is minus 1. So, your u s star is nothing but 1 minus y star. These all will be y star, right. So, this will be y star, because we are working with the non-dimensional variables. Okay. So, this is a solution of the steady state part, and if you remember, this was the profile you have obtained for a fully developed QED flow, that means at the steady state, right. Now, we are looking into the transient, means how long it will be elapsed before attaining this steady state. Okay, let us look into the other part, the transient one, u t star. We had del u t star, del t star is del square u t star del y star square, right. At time t star is equal to 0, you had u t star is minus u s star y. So, it will be minus 1 minus y star, right. It will be so y star minus 1, that will be the initial condition of this problem. And for any time t at y star equal to 0, you had u t star equal to 0 and y star equal to 1, you have u t star equal to 0. Okay. Now, break this problem into separation of variable, that means u t star is composed of two parts. Now you can go ahead with the standard solution. This will be, one will be time dependent part, another will be space dependent part. So, it will be tau of t star and another, let us say capital Y of y star. Okay. Substitute this here and collect the similar terms. This will be y times d tau dt star plus tau times d square y dy star square, right. So, it will be 1 by tau d tau d star dt star divided by 1 over y d square y dy star square. So, this will be a function of time only, the right hand side will be a function of space only, they will be equal, they will be equal to some constant, and this constant can be positive, negative or 0. If this constant is positive or 0, you will be getting a trivial solution. So, this has to be a negative one, let us say minus lambda square. Okay. So, what will be the time dependent part? 1 by tau d tau dt star is minus lambda square. So, tau will be some constant, let us say C t exponential minus lambda square t star. Okay. That will be the time dependent part. Now, let us look into the space dependent part, that is 1 over y d square y dy star square plus lambda square is equal to 0, or d square y dy star square plus lambda square y is equal to 0. subject to the boundary conditions. The boundary condition, the y should satisfy the boundary conditions of the original problem. Okay. So, these will be subject to at y star equal to 0, your capital Y is equal to 0, at y star equal to 1, your capital Y will be equal to 0. Okay. So, now this is a standard eigenvalue problem with the with this form of the governing equation and the homogeneous boundary conditions. Now, this standard eigenvalue problem will be having the solution as, let us say, C1 sin lambda y star plus C2 cosine lambda y star. Okay. Now, we have looked into the problem previously as well. What are the eigenvalues of this problem? The eigenfunctions will be C1 sin n pi y star, that we have already solved this problem previously. Okay. So, this is the nth eigenvalue eigenfunction, and the eigenvalues are lambda n's are n pi, where n runs from 1, 2, 3 up to infinity. Okay. So, what we have said? We have said previously that we have established that if at y star equal to 0, you have a dirichlet boundary condition, then n pi will be the eigenvalues and sin n pi y or n pi x will be the eigenfunction. If this will be dy is equal to 0, gradient boundary condition is present, then cosine will be the eigenfunctions and 2n minus 1 pi by 2 will be the eigenvalues. And if it is the boundary condition at y star equal to 1, if it is a mixed boundary condition present, then sin n pi y will be the eigenfunctions and the eigenvalues will be obtained from a transcendental equations involving the tan functions. So, corresponding tau n will be C t exponential minus n square pi square t star. Okay. So, what will be the u t star? It will be tau n times y n, right. C t and C 1, again it will be a new constant, let us say it is C n exponential minus n square pi square t star sin n pi y star. Now, there will be n number of these solutions. You superpose by using principle of linear superposition, and you will be getting the complete solution as u t star summation of u t n star. Okay. So, it will be C n summation C n exponential minus n square pi square t star sin n pi y star. Okay. Now, what is left behind? Left is the evaluation of this determination of this constant C n, and these will be obtained from the initial condition. At t star equal to 0, you had u t star as y star minus 1, right. So, y star minus 1, you will have summation of C n sin n pi y star. Okay. Now, use the orthogonal property of the sine function, that means you multiply both sides by sin m pi y star dy star and integrate from 0 to 1. Now, if you do that, then all the terms on the right hand side will vanish apart from one term, that is m is equal to n. So, what is C n? C n will be nothing but integration 0 to 1 sin square n pi y star dy star and 0 to 1 y star minus 1 sin n pi y star dy star. The denominator is half. So, it becomes 2, 0 to 1 y star minus 1 sin n pi y star dy star. Now, these can be solved analytically, and by parts probably you have to solve it. The first term is, let us say, y star sin n pi y star dy star 0 to 1, the first function, integration of the second function. So, minus cosine n pi y star over n pi 0 to 1 minus integral differential of the first function. So, that is 1, integration of the second function minus minus plus cosine n pi y star over n pi, right, that will be the integration. So, it will be cos n pi over n pi 0. So, the whole term will be off, plus 1 over n pi cosine n pi y star, it will be sin n pi y star, right. Zero to 1. So, cosine n pi over n pi plus 1 by n pi square sin n pi minus 0, sin n pi itself is 0. So, the whole term on the second term will be is equal to 0, identically equal to 0. So, it will the this one will be, the numerator will be cosine n pi by n pi, this will be also off. No, not numerator, this is the first term of the numerator, right. Yes, you have one more term. So, the second term is integral of sin n pi y star dy star 0 to 1. So, it will be minus cosine n pi y star by n pi 0 to 1. So, minus 1 over n pi cosine n pi minus 1. So, it will be 1 over n pi 1 minus cos n pi. So, what is the numerator? Numerator is summation of these two. So, cosine n pi over n pi plus 1 over n pi 1 minus cosine n pi, right. So, this cosine n pi will be cancelled out. So, what is left behind is 1 over n pi. Okay. So, what is Cn? Cn will be nothing but 2 by n pi. Okay. So, we can do the algebra, there is nothing. So, what is the complete solution? The solution is u t star is summation of 2 over n pi exponential minus n square pi square t star sin n pi y star or n equal to 1 to infinity.
So, this will be minus.
Which one is minus?
Numerator Cn cos n pi minus 1 upon n.
They won't cancel.
Is there a minus sign somewhere?
Then y star minus 1.
This is minus. So, in that case it will be twice cos n pi by n. There will be minus instead of plus, no?
Yes, sir.
Is it? So, in that case what it will be? No, it will not be minus.
The y star minus 1.
That is y star minus 1 into sin of n by y star.
Okay. So, it will be twice cosine n pi by n pi minus 1 by n pi. Is it correct? So, fine, no problem. Okay. So, what is Cn then? I will just write it in the original form. It will be 2 times 0 to 1 y star minus 1 sin n pi y star dy star, right. So, this will be 2 times y star sin n pi y star, we have already found out, it will be right, cosine n pi by n pi minus integral sin n pi y. So, it will be 1 over n pi 1 minus cosine n pi. Yes, there will be minus sign there. Twice cos n pi minus 1 over n pi. Okay. So, that will be the Cn. These are not correct. So, what is ut star? Ut star is summation 2 cosine n pi minus 1 over n pi exponential minus n square pi square t star sin n pi y star. Just go through the algebra once again. Okay. So, the complete solution will be nothing but my u star was u s star plus u t star, and what was u s star? 1 minus y star, right. So, it will be 1 minus y star plus summation of this quantity. Okay. Let us say C n, I just combine all these things as C n exponential minus n square pi square t star sin n pi y star. Okay. So, that gives the complete solution. Now, you convert the non-dimensional quantity to dimensional quantity and compute. Let us say you would like to find out u star at any y star and t star, you just substitute here, and let us take you first you evaluate this summation series first for first 5 or 4 or 5 eigenvalues and get the solution. Okay. So, you remind the thing, if you have a 0 initial condition or non-zero boundary conditions, you have to divide the problems into suitable sub problems. Otherwise, you cannot use the separation of variable as it is, because the eigenvalue problem you will be getting later on, if you directly do it, then that will not be a standard eigenvalue problem. Standard eigenvalue problem means homogeneous boundary conditions. Unless and until you get homogeneous boundary conditions, you cannot have the solution. Now, we will look into a complete heat conduction problem. I will do it shortly. Okay. So, let us say you have the equation as del t is alpha del square t, let us say del x square. Okay. Now, at time t is equal to 0, you have some initial temperature T naught. Okay. At x equal to 0 for any time, the phase located at x equal to 0 and let us say x equal to 1, you are maintaining constant temperature here and you are supplying a constant heat flux here with Q. So, minus K del T del x is Q, and at x equal to 1 you are having, let us say T is equal to T1. So, this is a general problem where the first phase, the phase at one of the phases you are supplying a constant heat flux and you are maintaining a different temperature at the other phase. Okay. So, if this phase is insulated, then this boundary condition would have been homogeneous. Okay. So, you are having 3 sources of non-homogeneity in this equation. So, this equation has to be divided into 3 subparts in general, but you need not to do it. You define a theta as T minus T1. In that case, this boundary condition becomes homogeneous and there will be 2 sources of non-homogeneity existing in your system. Okay. So, if you do so, then you will be getting del theta del t is equal to alpha del square theta del x square. At t equal to 0, you are having theta is equal to theta 0. Theta 0 is nothing but T 0 minus T 1. Okay. Now, at x equal to 0, you will be having del theta del x is minus q by k, right, and at x equal to 1, you will be having theta is equal to 0. Now, there are 2 sources of non-homogeneity in this equation. Okay. So, this equation will be divided into 2 parts, theta is equal to theta 1 plus theta 2, considering one non-homogeneity at a time. We will be constructing theta 1 and theta 2 such that we will be considering one non-homogeneity at a time. Okay. Now, let us construct theta 1 and theta 2 separately. So, what will be theta 1? Del theta 1 del t is alpha del square theta 1 del x square, subject to, let us say in theta 1 we are keeping the non-homogeneity at the initial condition intact. Let us say theta 1 is theta 0 and force the non-homogeneity in the boundary condition to be equal to 0. Okay. That means at x equal to 0, you are having del theta 1 del x is equal to 0, at x equal to 1, you are having theta 1 is equal to 0 in any way. Let us construct theta 2. Okay. Del theta 2 del t is alpha del square theta 2 del x square. At t equal to 0, now make this equal to 0, theta 2 is 0 and we will be keeping the non-homogeneity in the boundary condition intact. At x equal to 0, del theta 2 del x is minus q by k, and at x equal to 1, your theta 2 equal to 0. So, basically we have divided the original problem into two sub problems considering only one non-homogeneity at a time. This is the non-homogeneity here and this is the non-homogeneity here. Okay. Now, again there will be a problem in this case because this is a standard eigenvalue problem. This is a standard problem for separation of variable, because you are having homogeneous boundary condition and non-zero initial condition. Now, we have already solved this problem previously. If you remember, the eigenvalues are 2n minus 1 pi by 2 and eigenfunctions are cosine lambda and x. Now, this problem is really solved in your notebook if you look into your notes. Okay. Now, and the time varying part will be, let us say C n exponential minus lambda n square alpha t. Okay. So, what is the solution? The solution was, if you remember, is C n exponential minus lambda n square alpha t cosine lambda n x, n is 0 to n is 1 to infinity, where C n is obtained from the initial condition, that will be 2 0 to 1. Initial condition was theta 0, right? Theta 0 cosine lambda n x dx. Okay. So, this is the solution of the first part theta 1. Now, in theta 2 you are having the non-homogeneous boundary condition present and one non-zero initial condition, zero initial condition. If you look into theta 2, so this problem will be again since you are having a zero initial condition, this will be again subdivided into two sub problems. One will be theta 2 s, that is a steady state part, which will be function of x only and time independent, plus theta 2 t, which will be function of x and t both. Like the previous problem, it is like the previous problem we just had solved. So, theta 2 will be divided into theta 2 s, which will be function of x only, and theta 2 t, which will be function of x and t both. Okay. Now, we can construct the governing equation of theta 2 s and theta 2 t. Now, you substitute this equation in your governing equation, you will be getting d square theta 2 s dx square is equal to 0. Suitably, now you select the, you allow the non-homogeneous boundary condition to go along with theta 2 s. Okay. So, what is that? At x equal to 0, your theta 2 s is minus q over k. You allow the non-homogeneous boundary condition. What is that? Yes, yes, that is correct. Absolutely right. D theta 2 ds dx, that will be minus q by k. that you can always get this form, right, and at x equal to 1, theta 2s is equal to 0. You can derive these boundary conditions for each part exactly following the steps I have done in the previous problem, the first problem we have solved in this class. Okay. But you substitute this into a governing equation, collect the terms, you will be getting the governing equation of theta 2s and theta 2t. You substitute this equation in the original boundary condition. Okay. Then you will be getting the you allow the non-homogeneous part to go along with the theta 2s. Okay. So, the other part will be theta 2t, this will be del theta 2t, del t is del square theta 2t del x square, there will be alpha there, subject to at time t equal to 0, your theta 2t will be nothing but minus theta 2s. These will be again derived exactly following the same steps we have done in the first problem, and at x equal to 0 and x equal to 1, you will be having the homogeneous boundary conditions, del theta 2t del x is equal to 0, and at x equal to 1, you will be having theta 2t is equal to 0. Okay. Now, this problem we have already solved. This is a non-zero initial condition which will be a function of x alone, and this will be these two are the homogeneous boundary conditions. Since a gradient boundary condition is present at x equal to 0, cosine 2n minus 1 pi cosine will be the eigenfunctions, and 2n minus 1 pi by 2 will be the eigenvalues, and we have already written down the solution here. Only the Cn will be different here. Cn will be different because your governing your initial condition is now different compared to this problem. Okay. I will just elaborate once again. This for that you have to solve the theta 2s first. Theta 2s will be nothing but C1 x plus C2, and d theta 2s dx will be nothing but C1. So, what is that? Q by k 1 minus x. No? Yes, that is correct. Fine. This is the steady state solution of that part. So, for theta 2t, the initial condition will be at t is equal to 0, theta 2t will be minus q by k into 1 minus x, right, and boundary conditions will be homogeneous at x equal to 0, del theta 2t del x is equal to 0, and at x equal to 1, theta 2t will be equal to 0. Now, we can go ahead with the standard eigenvalue solution. Only thing is, in this case, for this problem, Cn will be different. For this problem, the solution form will be the same as it is, only that Cn will be different because of the different initial condition, and that was instead of theta 0, you will be having q by k into 1 minus x. So, there will be two terms, you have to integrate both the terms by parts and construct the whole solution. So, your overall solution will be theta 1 plus theta 2s plus theta 2t, right. So, you can construct the complete solution after solving this problem. I request you to go through this problem properly and do this every step, and finally come out with a complete solution. Okay. Thank you.
In today's class, we are going to find out what would be the form and solution of heat diffusion equation if we have heat being generated in the system. These systems occur in practical field, for example, in ohmic heating, where you have electrical energy passing electricity passing through a wire, and due to resistance heating, you are going to get some sort of heat generation which would alter the temperature field inside an wire. It is also relevant in the case of nuclear reactors, where in cylindrical fuel rods there would be some nuclear heat generation, and you really have to find out what's going to be the maximum temperature inside such a fuel rod. So, you can imagine that is a cylindrical system. So, the maximum temperature would probably be at the center line, and you also have to make sure that that center line temperature should not exceed the melting point of the material. So, there are a number of calculations in application areas where you would like to solve the heat diffusion equation with heat generation embedded into it. There may be another situation also. You may have a number of surfaces or number of plane walls, let us say, connected with each other, with one wall generating heat, the other wall is acting just as an insulator. So, you would like to find out what is the amount of heat that is reaching the insulating wall. So, temperature profiles with heat generation are of practical relevance, and we are going to start with the simplest possible situation in which in a plane wall there is uniform heat generation, and we will see what kind of a profile we would get. So, one you can use is dTdr at r equal to 0 should be equal to 0, and other conditions possible, that is the surface temperature may be known to you. So, T temperature at small r equals capital R, suppose that is known to you, or the surrounding temperature and the convective heat transfer coefficient is known to you, in which case again the conductive heat should be equal to convective heat at small r equals capital R. The other condition could be the total amount of heat generated in the system should be equal to H times T of the surface minus T infinity. So, that is the other possibility, same as before. Okay. So, whatever be the total amount of heat generated into the system must be equal to the amount of heat that is being convected convected away at the surface. So, these are some of the examples of heat generating systems, and I am simply going to discuss about one problem very quickly, and in the next part of this class, in the tutorial part, we will solve some of these problems. In this specific case, I have two walls A and B. The temperature at x equal to 0 is T0. This side is perfectly insulated, and the temperature over here is T1 and over here is T2. I also have T infinity and H known to me. So, in wall A only I have some heat generation. The thickness of this wall is also known to me to be equal to 50 millimeter, whereas this one thickness of wall B is 20 millimeter.